Greetings to the people watching this video. In this video, we're going to do a review of Neverness To Everness and the 12 or so hours that I have gotten to play so far. Neverness To Everness is a game made by Huda Studios. Now, their other game is Tower of Fantasy. You might have played it, and you might not have. I'll give you a brief description of Tower of Fantasy. Tower of Fantasy is extremely mid. There's not really a lot of good things about it. One of the only good things about it that I find is the exploration and the traversal mechanics that they allow you to have in the game. So, people that have played it, will probably be a bit reserved about NTE because of Tower of Fantasy. But I am very pleasantly surprised to say that NTE has a great foundation, and it has the potential to be a great gacha game if the devs do not fumble this game. Now, for this video, I'm not going to go into the story because I have experienced very little of the story, but I will let you guys know right now, there is a skip button for you if you don't want to experience. I personally want to experience it, but I will not go into the story of this game because I have experienced so little of it. I will make another video for this game, a full-on review of it when the beta has concluded, and it will contain talking about the story. Now, the first point of this video is going to be the positives of Neverness To Everness. Now, the first thing we're going to mention is the animation. The animation of character faces and cutscenes and dialogues, it's so over-the-top and anime-esque that it's a breath of fresh air to see from the standard cutscenes you see in other gacha games. So, to expand on the previous point I made, I'm going to show you a cutscene from Tower of Fantasy that shows the character faces and cutscenes and dialogue. Then, I'm going to show you a cutscene from Neverness To Everness of the character faces and cutscenes and dialogues to show the improvement that they have made between the two games. Now, some people might want to compare it to Wuthering Waves or Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail or ZZZ, but I don't think it's fair to compare it to games fully released and by different devs with higher budgets or different budgets and different dev teams. The best way to show improvement from these devs is to compare the two games that they have made.
Too shabby, am I right?
Did both you and Zeke grow up here?
We have been living here since we were very little. There weren't a lot of people back then. Everyone chipped in to build this place little by little. Super duper ultra 360 Relics slash! Stubborn thing. It won't be nullified no matter how much I attack it. Looks like
nullified.
Wait, what? It's nullified? What happened? How did that happen?
It heard your praise.
Oh, huh? Just because I complimented it?
Maybe all it sought in existence was a sincere compliment.
Thank you, Mr. Picture Frame.
Now that I showed you the difference between Tower of Fantasy's intro and its animations in said intro, and the animations of NTE in its intro and its animations, you can see the amount of improvement that they've went through to make this game much better than Tower of Fantasy. Here's a little addendum for this point that I forgot to add. We're also going to take a look at the designs of the characters. We're going to go by one of all the characters that are currently playable as of recording of this video. So the first character we're going to take a look at is Mint. She is the first character you get after you start to play as the MC. She is a cat girl with turquoise colored hair with a pink strip on it, and she is incredibly funny. She has over-the-top animations. She's fairly good as a damage dealer from what I've played, and she is just overall a funny character that you meet in the beginning of the game. Now, as you might have noticed on her character design, her little bag on her waist is a cat too, with a cat tail on it. It's just over-the-top designs that make these characters unique. Now, when you meet Mint for the first time, she is portrayed as a goofball who takes nothing seriously. And so far, from what I've seen, that doesn't change, and it's honestly hilarious to watch it happen. She is extremely funny. Now, the next character we're going to get into is Lacrimosa. She is a ranged character that uses some type of goo as a weapon. Her colors are black, white, and red. She apparently really likes tomatoes. Like, really likes tomatoes. One of her quotes is, "Tomatoes. Lacrimosa likes tomatoes. One day, Lacrimosa will wake up from a tomato bed and live a life in Tomato Castle." I don't understand it. It's weird, and it's just kind of odd, but hey, that's her personality. If she likes tomatoes, she likes tomatoes. Now, at the point that I'm at in this story, I have seen very little of Lacrimosa, so I apologize that this part seems very short, but we have a lot of characters to get into, and I don't want to make this video an hour long. So we're going to move on to the next character. Now, the next character we're going to get into is Fadia. She is a very unique character. She really has she has a pain kink. Either it's on you or inflicted upon her, and that is her whole shtick. In her ult, she strips herself of her jacket and proceeds to slam her crossbow, her tombstone weapon, and proceed to teleport everywhere, doing massive amounts of damage. Her whole thing is very darker colored, and it's honestly very refreshing to watch her do her stuff, and it's very unique compared to the other characters. And if you use her, you would understand what I said in my stream. Also, a little side note about Fadia, she seems clinically insane, and it's hot as fuck.
Gaze is the child of love. I like the way you look at me.
Now, the next character we're going to get into is Nanalie. She is another cat girl that seems like an extreme nerd. She is very over the top, kind of like Mint, but much more grounded, maybe. I don't know if that's how I would put it, but you see her a lot more so far from what I've played than Mint, so you're kind of stuck with her. She is a part of the whole group that you get with after the intro of NTE. Now, Nanalie is a massive goblin. In pretty much every cutscene you get of her, she is acting like a massive goblin, being over the top and weird and goofy. Another character I'm going to bring up is Sakiri. She is an actual child that wields a enormous staff that summons a slime monster thing that she bonks enemies to death with. Her ultimate is an AoE that the monster vomits all over from the end of her staff. She is also a goblin in the group you're in after the intro of NTE. I don't vibe with her design because she's just not a character for me. And I actually haven't used her because I don't feel like leveling her up at all, because she kind of bores me. And one of the final characters we're going to get into that are playable is Esper Zero, the main character that you pick in the intro. Now, I chose the male version, so I'm going to refer to him as a he. In the cutscenes, you can clearly see that he's obviously thinking what we're thinking half the time. He's very confused and always doubting these guys because this group is eccentric and completely insane, and it's really funny to watch. He is completely lost, doesn't remember anything, as per usual with gacha character MCs. They have amnesia. Of course they do. They have no idea what they're doing. It's just a trope that every one of these gacha games are going to go with. The MC's design is a tuxedo with lighter colors and white hair. He's more professional looking, or she's more professional looking, and he uses a katana that deals actually quite a fair bit of damage. He's kind of usable. Now, we're going to talk about a character that's not playable, Tagiato. He is this thing called an oddity. Oddities are these weird creature things that can't talk in a human language, but some can understand. Now, he has a quest that you do that's a main quest that revolves around his love life. But before we get into that, he is always emoting on his screen, doing these weird poses, and he has an ego, it seems like. Now, at first I thought he was a dog. Then my chat got me convinced that he was a gerbil. Then later in the story, in one of the dialogues, he gets insulted and called an otter. So that's what he is. He is an otter. A egotistical otter who you are forced to do a quest for his love life. Now, his design is a bipedal otter with an orange jacket and I think a shirt. And that's pretty much it for him. He does these emotes on his screens. I'll throw a couple up on screen, but he is very eccentric and unique that I have not really seen from a gacha game. It's very nice to see. Now, one of the last characters we're going to get into that is playable is Adler. He is a very distinguished gentleman. He wields a cane. He always has a shield, and he can shield his teammates. Now, throughout the story, he's always portrayed as, what I said, a gentleman. He's always speaking properly. He's always bowing and just being very gentlemanly. His design is proper. Looks like he's ready to go to church or go to the funeral or meet someone important in power. Adler is a counter to all the batshit insane characters that you're introduced to in the group that you play with or meet in the story after the introduction of the game. So one of the last characters we're going to get into is Skia. He is a wolfman, like a literal wolfman. He does attacks with his shadowy powers. His main thing is punching people and kicking people. He is portrayed in the intro as a professional. He is a part of a squad that you play as in the beginning of the game. You hunt anomalies as him with his team, and you have to save this team and beat back a bunch of enemies. His design is all gentlemanly. He's wearing a tuxedo, and he's always ready for a fight, with a tie wrapped around his shoulders. Another character we're going to get into is Hattori. She is the de facto leader of the group you join after the intro of the game. She is very money hungry. Her design is traditional, I think, Chinese garb and colors. Correct me if I'm wrong, I might be wrong, but I do believe it is Chinese themed. She is just portrayed as money hungry, trying to get the best deal or scam people out of their money. She is very funny, and she is a stark contrast to the main group you interact with in the story so far. One more thing about Hattori is she very clearly loves and cares for the group and the house that you guys join in the store. Now, this is just going to be a quick description of Edgar. His whole shtick is being very computer savvy and technologically savvy. He's very reserved and quiet with his animations, and he tries to be the sane one of the main group of the insane people that you meet. Now, those are all the playable characters that are currently available at this time of the recording. I briefly went into the description of them, what they're like, and a bit into the designs of all their uniqueness. Because each one is different and they all have their different personalities. Well, kinda. Sakari and Natalie, they're kinda the same, but one's very much younger and a bit more of a goblin, and Natalie is just a bit more insane and a little bit less of a goblin who's willing to do crazy things. Now, after that whole spiel about the characters, the animations, and the dialogue, and all that type of stuff, we're going to get into the combat and the team building and the synergies that they have provided in the CBT 2. It is very different from Tower Fantasy. So, for this first section about combat, we're just going to go over the Esper cycles, and I'm just going to read it right off of the game. There is Nova, Stain, Discord, Charge, Scorch, and Remora, Hex, Blossom. It's kind of like all the Genshin elemental things, but much more in detail. So the first one is Nova. After triggering Esper cycle, the target enters Nova for 5 seconds. When the effect expires, the target takes cognito damage. The second one is Stain. After triggering the Esper cycle, the target takes 50% increased Psych and Lashkana damage for 12 seconds. The third one is called Discord. When the target is simultaneously under effects of Nova and Scorch, the percentage of their break is detected. Now, break is essentially their shield, which once you do enough damage, you can stun them and deal additional damage. The next cycle we're going to get into is Charge. When Lebanon Blooms hit a target affected by Remora, the active character gains additional 2 field essence. Scorch is the next Esper cycle. After triggering Esper cycle, the target enters Scorch for 15 seconds, taking damage over time. Remora is the next one. After triggering Esper cycle, the target enters Remora for 5 seconds, slowing their movement and attack speed. The effect decays over time, and will have a shorter duration if repeatedly applied. Now, the final 2 Esper cycles is Hexed and Blossom. Hexed is, after triggering an Esper cycle, the target takes an additional instance of unison damage equal to 50% of the anima and incantation damage taken over 12 seconds. Blossom is when, after triggering an Esper cycle, 1 Lebanon Stam will spawn near the target and blossom 5 Lebanon Blooms. Lebanon Blooms will fly towards the target within range and explode every 2 seconds, dealing damage to an area. Now, if you're confused about these different types of damage like anima, incantation, Lebanon Blooms, and Lebanon Stams, don't worry, I'm confused too. But from what I've noticed, each character deals a different type of damage, whether it's like a different elemental, or a character will spawn these Lebanon Stams or Lebanon Blooms. But just essentially think of it as bonus damage for each of these characters, because in order to trigger each of these cycles, you have to use 2 different characters that can match the select Esper cycle that you want to trigger. So that means team comps will have to rely around these Esper cycles, not the oh, these guys are cool, so we're going to use them together. No, you have to use these teams in order to trigger these bonus damage types, these Esper cycles. Now, after listening to these Esper cycles, I understand if some of you might be a little pissed off or annoyed about this. Well, because I would be too if I had not played it, but it feels oddly nice to play, and it doesn't feel like a detriment to the game, because you still have fun with them, and you can see these unique reactions, and there's 6 of them that you can trigger with different characters, you can experience with different teams. And what I'm hoping for with this cycle is that they will not allow power creep or feature creep to ruin older characters with these systems, because these systems, from what I see and read, that they might help with keeping like 1.0 characters in healthy competition with newer characters that come out with future banners. Now that we went over the Esper cycles and how the team comps work, because you are going to have to build a team comp around these Esper cycles, we're going to talk about perfect dodging and the perfect pairing that exists in the game. It is very clearly inspired by Wuthering Waves. I don't care if you think it's copying. If a game improves the combat system where it's not like Genshin Impact or Tower of Fantasy, where you just wildly swing your weapon, it is a bonus for me because I love the combat system in Wuthering Waves. It should be the gold standard of how an open world gacha game that is not turn-based should have their combat system, because it adds skills and knowledge required for like higher tier stuff to be good at. It adds a skill gap, because if you suck at the dodging and perfect pairing, you're gonna die a bit more. And that's honestly fair. I like it a lot. I don't care if you refer to it as copying or inspired, but I think it's just a general plus that the combat is like this. Now, for the boss fights, which is the next point we're going to segue into, is each boss has a unique phases and unique stages that you do when you do a certain amount of health damage. For example, Morphix is a boss that you fight in the story quest. When you get him to about half health, you get taken to a place where he's on a platform in front of you, and he starts throwing attacks at you that you have to hit back to deal damage, and you have to deal a certain amount of damage or get hit a certain amount of times to be able to get out of that phase. Another example of the bosses being actually pretty well designed, how honestly, in my opinion, well designed, is there is a boss you can find in the overworld that's on top of an invisible platform that you have to climb up this tower, and as you get higher, more appears, and you have to find the pathway up. When you get to his platform and you deal a fourth of his health, half of his health, and 3/4 of his health, he summons these hole in the walls that you have to jump through in order to be able to not get knocked off the platform. After you do that, it happens about 3 times, as I said, 1/3, 1/4, 2/4, and 3/4 of his health. Then you can kill him, and it's just these mechanics that make these bosses unique. They're not just, oh, I'm just going to repeatedly hit him, he's going to teleport away, then I got to repeatedly hit him again. They actually have unique mechanics that you have to avoid in order to not die or get knocked off of stuff that makes you lose the boss fight. One final example of the bosses that I have faced so far having well-designed fights is this boss called a Sea Prisoner. It is a whale that you can find in a tunnel that teleports you to an arena. He eventually gets corrupted and he attacks you. He has multiple phases as you deal more damage, where he'll go underneath the water, fly up in the air, throw these orbs down you and close you off, or you can get these things to come out of the water to deal massive damage. It's just these bosses all have unique phases and things that you have to do in order to survive the boss fight. It just proves, I'm trying to prove my point that these bosses are actually pretty well designed and not just sponges, health sponges that you have to swing and hit. Oh, I'm going to teleport away. You're going to have to run back towards me. I'm going to swing and hit again, swing and hit again. It's just they have fun, unique challenges for the bosses that they intentionally did that makes it fun to play. Now, this is one of the final things that are very positive about this game before we get into the negatives, and that is the relic farming. The relics come with set substats that you get. So when you get the relic unleveled, you will see the 4 substats that it has. There is no changing them. They come with selected substats. It is the best system in a gacha game. There is no other gacha game that comes close. Wuthering Waves? Nope. Genshin Impact? Nope. HSR? Nope. ZZZ? Nope. This game, NTE, has the best. There is no way you can convince me otherwise. Now, for this relic system, you can only equip one main thing. Now, you might be wondering, wait, how do you get the relics stat bonuses? Well, there is this thing called Rewind in the artifact selector, which allows you to spend coins that you get from farming relics that unlocks these puzzle pieces that fit into that Game Boy looking thing. Now, each one of those pieces, just like the main relic, come with their own stat for stats. And that means they cannot be randomly rolled when leveling up like every other gacha game. They come with their own stats that are static on it. So you will see all 4 substats on the relic and those square pieces so you'll know which ones you want, and it makes farming them so much better. You're not guessing or praying to RNG Jesus that you get a good roll. I'm going to harp on this one more time. No other gacha game comes close with its relic system that I have played. ZZZ, Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Wuthering Waves. Every other gacha game I've played does not come close. That is just the truth of that. Now, I don't know if this is going to change in the full game versus the CBT, but limited characters and the standard characters do not have a weapon that you have to pull on. There's just a standard set of 5-star weapons that you can use. Now, the banners are guaranteed for the limited. I think it's for the first time you get the S-Class, it's guaranteed. There's no 50-50. Now, on that section, the weapons you get, you don't have to spend extra pulls on the banner to get them, but that might change in the full game. I don't know. I will correct that or make an additional video if it gets changed like that. But that is a huge plus, that you do not have to waste pulls on a weapon on a separate banner. Now, in order to get these 5-star weapons, or these arcs, that's what they're called, arcs, you can buy them from the shop by earning currency from your pulls. It takes 25 keys. That's what they are. You can buy them from the piece shop for the warp pieces you get from pulling. It is 24 warp pieces for a tri-key, and you need 25 tri-keys to buy a weapon. Oh, I almost forgot. One more positive is this slice of life stuff that's apparently what it's called. You can buy businesses and have them make passive income. You can buy apartments to build up your own personal houses. I think this is the first time in a gacha game that they allow you to have your own home or apartment that you can customize to your liking. And you can run businesses that earn cash, passive income. It's just really cool. I've never seen this in a gacha game before. Now, this is where the positives end. Now, unfortunately, we're going to have to get into the negatives. And I'm going to remain truthful from my experiences in the game. Now, it goes without saying, for all of these cons, I want them to be improved. There is a good base game here. They have an opportunity to create an amazing gacha game. So, for this first negative, the exploration, I personally do not find it fun. It seems like it's empty. And yes, there are these delivery missions you can do, anomaly commissions, racing, but as of right now, they're not the greatest. I hope they can improve them, but they're just not the greatest at right now of the CBT 2. I am also going to include the bugs that happen in this section of the cons, because it makes sense to put them together. Now, I know there are chests you can gather in the overworld. There are these red crows that you can find that give you a item that you give to a witch in this anomalous house that increases your level, that gives rewards, but finding them aren't the greatest. They do show them on the map, but it's just not really that fun to go and hunt them down at this time. I hope they make them more worthwhile when the game improves and the game comes out. Now, here is another con about this game. When you're driving around, and you will find out when you're driving around, the frame loss and the stuttering is insane. I understand it's a CBT, and I hope to God this will be improved as the game comes out. But it is a severe issue with the FPS loss. It is really bad when you're driving around downtown in the areas. Now, a bug that happened a few times on stream is I'd go to talk to someone, or it'd bring me out of a cutscene, or go to bring me into a cutscene, and these curtains will close on you, and it would stay like that to where you'd have to Alt F4 the game in order to fix it. It's only happened a few times, but it is an issue where it's made me have to close the game and completely restart it. Another bug is the character audio and the MC audio. It just sounds like it's got a weird filter on it sometimes. Like it's got this, like they're speaking through a radio or something. It's there sometimes and it isn't there sometimes. It's very odd and it's noticeable when you're listening to all them speak. One short issue in the game, when you first meeting the new characters, the group that you join, there is a issue with the male MC where in a cutscene they have the wrong gendered voice line in it. You can hear the female MC speaking for the male MC, and it makes me wonder if it's the same thing for the female MC and it has the male MC audio coming through. It's a very funny bug. It's not really an issue, it's just it just took me out of it and I was giggling a little bit in my stream. Now, another bug that was happening quite frequently was your HUD would just randomly appear in dialogue or in cutscenes, and it was just very odd to see. It's a very minor one, but it is a bug nonetheless, and I'm hoping to write a little list of all the bugs that I experienced and post it in their Discord so they're maybe made aware of. Now, another issue that was happening was I was blocked from getting the rewards for the ascension mats for the arcs or the character skills. You would just not be able to access them. It just wouldn't give you the prompt, so you would have to restart it and then it wouldn't give you the rewards again. It happened so many times that I just didn't bother for the rest of the day, and then I just tried again the next day, but I was eventually able to get the rewards. I think they were made aware of that, and I think it got fixed, so good on them, but it still was an issue, and I feel like it's worthwhile mentioning, just as a warning that it might be happening to other people. One more small bug that was happening before we're pretty much done with the video is you'd go into a dungeon or whatever you want to call them to get an ascension material or a character level material, and the ads wouldn't spawn. It happened twice today while I was streaming. It is a bug. It does make you have to Alt F4 to get out of it because there's no option to leave the dungeon. I think they need to add an option to leave the dungeon immediately at the top left screen like in other gacha games. It is a problem that the ads aren't spawning, and I hope it is fixed with time. Now, if you had skipped to the end of the video or you've watched the full video, I thank you for that, but I'm going to give a quick rundown of all my points. The animation is great. The character design is great. The animation of the characters is great. The facial expressions are amazing. The combat is fun. The team building is fun. The team synergy is great. The boss fights are very good. But there are a bit of bugs. A few cons are the exploration isn't great, among a few other very minor things, if I'm being completely honest. And that's really it for the video. Thank you if you made it this far. I greatly appreciate it. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. And thank you for watching.